Hello, Clive Tompkins reporting for the Finance News Network. Joining me from Toro Energy is Managing Director Dr Vanessa Guthrie. Vanessa, welcome back.
Thanks, Clive. Good to be here.
Vanessa, you've had a busy start to the year at Toro. What were the highlights?
Toro's been very active in the first half of the year. We've undertaken drilling last year, which we announced the results of, a 12% increase in the head grade, which is an outstanding result, and with a 43% reduction in waste mined. This overall will give us a much better mining cost as we come to the feasibility study for the project. And also we've uncovered that the high grade is in much more continuous lenses, and that's really important for mining inventory. Secondly, we've undertaken some beneficiation studies looking at the process flow sheet on the back of those good grades, and that has given us some very encouraging results with an 80% mass rejection while retaining 90% of the uranium into the process flow sheet. And then thirdly, we've of course been progressing the environmental approvals for Lake Maitland and for the Millipede project, which is an extension to the existing approvals we hold.
And the most recent beneficiation results were very encouraging. Can you tell us more?
Yes, well, those first results were done, of course, on one sample at the Lake Maitland deposit. What they indicated is that the uranium is actually not locked up in any one particular size fraction. And what we can now do is, of course, replicate that result across a number of samples across all of our deposits, and then on the back of that, be able to come to a commercial pilot plant. The real aim for this, and the real exciting news, is that the beneficiation gives us the opportunity to reduce both OPEX and CAPEX for the project. So we'll be able to recast new project economics as the year progresses.
And Vanessa, when do you expect to have final approvals for Millipede and Lake Maitland?
Well, the Millipede and Lake Maitland environmental approval process commenced almost 2 years ago, and we've now completed the public consultation process. We've done all of our baseline studies. We've responded to the public submissions and the government, and now it's with the EPA in Western Australia to undertake the full assessment. We expect that through that assessment process, then public appeals, that the Minister will then be advised to be able to make a decision, hopefully by the year end, and that will then complete our economic mine plan.
And Vanessa, what are the catalysts that will see uranium prices move higher?
Well, of course, the start of the uranium price is in Japan, and Japan really does set the sentiment. Japan has restarted 4 reactors since the closure since Fukushima, and of those 4, while they've been under power production, 2 have now had an injunction against them and they've been closed down again. They're expected to go through the appeal process and come back to market. There is a 5th reactor currently in the process, expected to restart in the next couple of months. And Japan has committed to 20% of its power mix being nuclear by 2020. So the expectation is Japan will come back to 20% nuclear power production. The other 2 big drivers are China and India. And in China, they have committed to 6 to 8 reactors to be built every year from now until 2020. That's 40 new reactors in their mix. And it's of course driven largely by concerns around climate change and the commitments that these countries have made to reducing their climate change impact. Secondly is India. India have committed to a further 12 reactors to be built in country, and they are looking to grow their fleet from 2020 onwards. So those sustained growth drivers are what will underpin a price recovery in the near and long term.
Now, you just touched on India. How is the Indian market progressing?
Well, India is very driven by Prime Minister Modi's commitment to bring electricity to all households in India by 2020. Currently, there are 300 million people in India who live without power. And to be able to provide that electricity, India needs every source of power that they can find. Nuclear is absolutely a part of that mix. They have a commitment to be 25% dependent on nuclear power by 2050. And that means that it is very much driven by, again, that climate change underpinning India's need for growth. Prime Minister Modi's committed to a 7% GDP growth every year for the next 10 years. You can't do that unless you have a solid commitment to power and energy, and that's where India will certainly be driving the nuclear power production post-2020.
Last question, Vanessa. What's next for Toro and Wiluna?
Well, on the back of the very good results that we've had in the first half of the year, we're continuing with our technical studies. This is very focused on process optimisation and replicating those beneficiation results across our all of our deposits. Once we have that in hand, we can then rerun our project economics towards the end of the year, and we expect to be able to deliver the project at a much lower uranium price, which is really now in the new price paradigm around $50 to $55 per pound for uranium. On top of that, of course, we're completing the approvals, and we also expect to have a traditional owner agreement with the local Aboriginal community secured within the next few months. So all in all, it's a very busy time at Toro, and it will continue to be during 2016.
Vanessa Guthrie, thanks for the update.
Pleasure.